So, I don't know if y'all know, but Swapmeet is January 14th of this year, right? I'm just setting this up right quick. There we go. Whew. And a lot of people don't know this, but I have to do every pop-up I can for a couple of reasons, right? One reason is this is my full-time job now, point blank period. My next reason is I just love what I do, all right? I'm saying all of that to say this. Someone reached out to me from the newspaper of ECU. I think it's the Commonwealth. Let me get the exact information so I'm not lying to you guys. The Commonwealth Times for Virginia Commonwealth University newspaper. All right. Asked me to do an interview about Swapmeet. I explained to them, hey, I'm not the organizers, but I am a frequent vendor. I reached out to the organizers. So now the organizers and me are being interviewed for the Swapmeet. God is the greatest, yo. God is the greatest. So what I'm doing now is I'm just basically logging into the Zoom 10 minutes early. Just so we can, you know what I'm saying, be a little bit professional. And I'm gonna show y'all what we're doing. So see y'all in a minute. I'm in a little early, and the meeting starts in about 8 minutes, or the interview starts in about 8 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and record the whole interview.
Northern Virginia, opened up a space down on Broad Street called The Spot. And with those guys, we started the Diamond Flea Market. And I brought that idea to all those folks based on just where I grew up in Los Angeles. We had the Rose Bowl, and after seeing the Diamond, kind of had the idea that it was like it could be kind of the Rose Bowl of the East Coast was like my phrase that I was using. Did that with them for a season, or like 6 or 7 of them for the first summer, and then we branched off to do our own thing with moving inside. And the main goal for me was to not have it stop. I didn't want to have an off season. I didn't want it to be something that my vendors relied on for 6 months and then just be gone. So the goal was to find somewhere inside to be able to do it. And that's where I came across Main Street Station. And so like the main reason of doing it was just to keep a space, to create space, or keep the space open for folks that were trying to make a living or making a part of their living from something that I organized. I just didn't want it to be a thing where it was like, hey, you know, we got to November and we just stopped. And then people are like, all right, well, you know, I wanted to keep that space open. And that was like the main driving force behind that. And so here we are, like our 3rd year of doing it. And it's rolling.
That's really interesting. Tell me more about the small businesses and vendors you work with. Like, why specifically them?
You know, I came from doing this. I've owned 3 brick and mortar store locations. I've sold vintage. I've actually sold vintage. The first item I sold was a Tide NASCAR racing hat that I got at Goodwill. And when I was living in the Bay Area, it was probably like 2002. And I bought the hat, I swear, for like a quarter. And it was a time where, you know, the Bay Area was rolling. It was like the hyphy movement, and bright colors and big glasses, and all this was really cool. And like at the time, folks wasn't really, you know, rocking vintage things or and it was before the racing jackets were hot and all this type of stuff, and they were just, people were surprised I had a Tide hat. And it was such a weird thing. Like, it was like a laundry detergent hat, and I was like, where did you get that from? Like, what is that? I got it from the Goodwill, and I had one of my boys say he wanted to buy it for me. Or he's like, let me get it. He's like, all right. I was like, all right, $5. Sold it to him for $5. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I spent a quarter on it, got $5. From there, I was like, oh, this is dope. So then I started like buying things here and there. Pea coats were really hot in the Bay Area at the time, and so like I would cop pea coats from the thrift for cheap, like real Navy Deckman like pea coats, and I would like sell them to folks. And then from there, I was like, I just kind of just kept doing it. It was just always a thing I just always did. And so like I opened my first store in Manassas. It's called with these guys, Thrift Lords, and that was in 2016 or 2017. I had been working in IT for about 7 years, and I got out of that. And at that point, I was just kind of like buying stuff for myself, and then I was getting into like flipping certain things here and there, and then it was a thing. I was doing it kind of before, I think after like the Macklemore song came out. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, he's getting everybody into the thrift and stuff. I followed this guy, Soul Food SF, out of the Bay Area for a long time. Went there with him a few times. And I was like, doing it, but it really wasn't like, it really wasn't a big thing at the time. So it was just something I was doing, like more like a hobby. You find cool stuff. You talk to people who else did it too. And you kind of linked up and connected that way. But once I did the brick and mortar in Manassas, then I opened up my own store in downtown Manassas, where I was doing kind of like a catch-all thing, where I was selling sneakers, selling vintage. I had it maybe into like a little venue of sorts, doing music stuff, and then I've always been drawn to this thing. And so when starting the Diamond flea market, it was like, all right, we're gonna do this thing where we got to a lot of folks that I already knew. Folks that did vending and get the vintage game out there, get the sneaker game out, make it a party, make it cool, make it a live event, DJ, music, and all this kind of stuff. And it was really, really fun. And then when I got to, I saw a certain demographic that I saw a lot of, especially at the Diamond events. And I was like, man, I really want to do something where, all right, I'm going to focus on I wanted to focus on a lot of small businesses, a lot of handmade stuff, I wanted to make it more of initially when I started the Swapmeet, I got the name Swapmeet from being in LA, and we have these things called Swapmeets. I saw Swapmeet and things like that, and it's like more of a catch-all, man. It's Swapmeet, you can get brands, you can get new stuff, you get handmade stuff, you can get all kinds of cool things, and that's kind of what I wanted to encompass into the Swapmeet. I wanted this flea market not just be like vintage and then like sneakers or whatever. I wanted it to be like, I really wanted to push like brands and like homemade stuff and handgoods and holistic things and jewelry. I wanted a lot of that in there, and it really worked out in the sense of like I really wanted to also get a lot more. There's a lot of women doing the vintage game. They're doing it in a dope way. So we reached out to a lot of women vendors and women that were down, like reworking clothes or really styling it and doing stuff like that. Like, because I didn't see a lot of like super amount of women vendors, and I was like, all right, let me just grab this. I'm grab everybody and try to put them all together. And so initially, marketing was just kind of like a catch-all place for everybody to just come out, and then like I really just started leaning back into the vintage because like I'm like kind of back into it also now. So I just went then I started out being like marketing as like just a flea market for everybody to come through and everybody can do, but it's still that. And even though I coined a vintage market, because we just know that is a market. That's just basically for marketing for business. Like vintage markets do really well. Vintage folks love to shop, and they'll buy everything. They're not just buying vintage. Vintage folks will come through and buy brands. They'll buy vintage. They'll buy jewelry. They'll buy whatever. And it's a great demographic to cater to. So, that's where I kind of went after. It's like now I'm like really in the point of like the vendors and the vintage vendors and the homemade vendors and the small businesses that are doing this, and like really just trying to inject create a space for our vendors to make money, like to really help out. You know, especially in these wild times, man. Some people this is all they do, and I want to always have a space for folks to go out. So our vendors are wide range. We got everything. We got older vendors, we got younger vendors, we got women, we got men, we reach out to a lot of folks from the safe space market to come through. And we have everything. You know, I just try to make it a welcoming space for everybody. We don't really do the whole like you're selected thing where you submit your name and then we reach back out to you and then you can sign up. We just say, hey, click the link, sign up. Like that. I have no issue with you selling whatever you're gonna sell. Just try to make it legal because we selling some legal stuff, but
right.
At the same time, I'm just kind of like, we're more of an open. We're an open market. Like it's like, just sign up. You know, we have this many spaces. Just come through, sign up. You don't got to ask permission. You don't got to like ask us to. And it's like it's fueled a lot of other markets too. We have like so many of our vendors have gone on to create markets as well. So it's like, and it's great. Like we felt that they've come to us and they kind of like almost ask permission to do their own thing. And I'm like, hey, you got to ask us to do anything. The more the merrier, and like the more space we can create for folks to make money, I'm with that. And I just love the fact that we've garnered, I guess, the level of respect on how we do it, where even our vendors that have come and started off with us have branched out, and we even help them like, hey, this is what you do. You get this many vendors, you do this. We kind of help them out with making a role for themselves and let them do it. So it's like, it's just dope. So our vendors are a wide range. We have every type of vendor you can think of.
Totally. No, like coming from VCU too, I mean, we've got a lot of those flea markets and it's definitely a big thing in Richmond. So I can imagine it's a big hit. Another question I have for you is, when did all of your business plans begin?
For this market in particular, this is, just getting into
this market in particular.
It started probably the summer of 2020. Right when that happened, I had opened up space, just got keys to the, and he would talk with those guys. It had always been an idea to do this, to start a market and to do it this way. And I think it was like that summer of, was it the summer of 2020? Or no, it was the summer of 21. It was funny. We had our market in the works, and then I think it was like Euphoria, a market that's in Northern Virginia, had just like done their first one. Like I want to say like the week or two before we did ours. So it was like a simultaneous. Everybody kind of like thinking of doing markets all at the same time, and it was just like that's when it kind of started. Just planning it out. It initially was like just four of us that were really pushing it. Me, my wife, and then this guy named Brian, who's the owner of Rotate on Broad Street, and then one of his friends, Cash. Like we were the first four to like really like push. We were all talking, but like we were the ones who went out and like got the venue, talked to the folks. Like me and Deja were going to markets and telling vendors about our market and how it started. So like that was kind of when it started. Like it was summer of 20 or like that like spring. I want to say maybe like once that year started, like 2021, like that year started, we started planning everything, And then from there, like it never stopped. Like when we started we switched over to start the Swapmeet. It was just always just continuous, just learning. Just okay, now we can do it this way. We're doing inside, we planning everything out, and now we're just kind of like just working and scaling. And we still really haven't even made it super official yet. And we were planning on doing that this year. With getting our LLC and doing all that stuff. So that's like coming up this year.
I mean, it's definitely a process. How do you think Swapmeet RVA contributes to the Richmond arts and culture?
Just creating space, just trying to create space for people to grow and being welcoming as far as like folks' creativity and trying to garner just feeding it, just like I think it's a part of it. Just like creating space is like the biggest thing. Like you feed it and it'll grow. It's almost just like watering a plant. Like just give it something to do, give it a place to go, give it a space for people to link up. Like through this, we linked up with Sustainable fashion week is a new thing. It's on the second year. We're actually planning that with the Kalen. He's a VCU student right now. Last year was the first one we linked up with him, and like, we have RVA Fashion Week, but now we have RVA Sustainable Fashion Week. We're on the second year, and sustainable fashion goes within the realm of like, vintage and small brands, shopping small. Like, it all helps with everything else. So like, we can see that that's going to feed a lot, because it's like with that we're working with like fashion designers and we're doing fashion shows, and we're just trying to feed creativity and like through different ventures and helping out folks do different things. Like, where we're adding some more stuff that we're going to be doing. We're doing some markets at like events at like Canal Plaza and stuff coming up, and we're just trying to just create as much space we can create for folks. I think that's the main thing.
Totally. I mean, Richmond is huge on, arts and fashion creativity. One last question. Why do you feel it is important to utilize downtown spaces such as Main Street Station?
I think it's dope because there's so many people who didn't even know that was there. They didn't even know that venue looked like that, or they didn't know that it was something that was accessible to them. And just like, we worked with the city on 17th Street last summer, and we did Chaco Swapmeet and Skate, and that was like a whole thing that folks were like, oh, I've come down here, but I've never really done anything down this way. And we've seen so many times where people are just like, I didn't know that this was here, or I didn't know that this was here. Like, it's just like, and if you don't, you're creating I'm always looking for cooler venues to do things. That's why I like with Canal Plaza, what I'm planning with that. It's like, people know of Canal Plaza in a way, they pass by it, but they don't really like go on to, you're out there on the grass and you're looking up at the building. Oh, this is actually really, really dope. And like, a lot of times that downtown area is like a pass-through area, and we've been working with the city to activate a lot more spaces too. Working with them, they just built a skate rink at the park. I want to say on the north side that we're going to be activating with the city and doing some stuff with as well. So just like, just looking at a space and it's like trying to figure it out. And I think it's just cool. I got trying to do like a basketball tournament at this really cool park that's in Churchill that I just found the other day, and I've been looking for a place to do it. And it's a really, really dope like space. I'm always looking for dope spaces to do things. And like, the city's built, they're doing so much with like the Diamond project and everything, and I think there's a lot of new faces coming to Richmond ever since post 2020. Richmond's really shown itself to be a forward-thinking city now, and before 2020, Richmond was seen as maybe like a southern city, like capital of the Confederacy. Like, maybe a lot of people maybe maybe not go there, or maybe what I mean. It's just like, maybe there's a thing with it. And since removing all the the Confederate statues and understanding that it's a forward-thinking city, and we're accepting, and it's very artsy, and people really realizing how like artsy it actually is, and like it's there's a lot of growth happening. So it's just like trying to put as many eyes on many different spaces, and being someone known for finding new venues and spaces to utilize, I think is really a big part of it. So I think it's important to just utilize those spaces because they need to be used. I mean, our taxes are paying for them to be maintained. Like, we should be in there, and everybody should be knowing about it. And that's the.
Totally. I think that's all the questions I have for you today, but I had a lot of fun interviewing you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, Jay, sorry that took a little bit longer than I expected, but
no, you're
I
good.
have a few questions. Okay, so my first question is, what are you selling? Like, I looked over your page and everything, but tell me more about it.
So I sell new, gently used, and vintage items, repurposed, pre-loved, however you want to say it. Basically, it's used clothes, unless it has brand new with tags in it. And what I do is I make sure they're washed, clean, and sanitized before I sell it to anybody. And with all that being said, I think that sets me apart from a lot of other vendors.
Totally. I think that's definitely a good way to set yourself apart, especially as like, a customer. That's kind of like something that you'd look for. Um, how long have you had your business?
I had the idea back in 2018. Excuse me. 2020, January, February 2020, right before like the pandemic actually like hit the states. That's when I started taking it seriously. Back in, it was either January or February 2020 is when I did my first actual pop-up.
And why did you decide to take part in specifically Swap Meet RVA?
It's consistent. It's the foot traffic is amazing. The family behind it is just like so nice and attentive, and they're on point with everything. When I go to these events, when I'm setting up, I see them talking to every vendor, not just one or two vendors. They talk to every single vendor. Hey, do you need anything? Hey, and that basically stands out to me because it seems like not seems like it shows that they care about their vendors.
Right. No, I'm sure that's important as a vendor, especially. Why do you feel it is important to have markets?
For me, I can't speak for everybody else. For me, I do this full time. So if there's no markets, I don't make any money. A lot of times, I have to go to other states. I travel to like, you know what I'm saying, states down south, up north, wherever I can to do a market if there's not a market here in Richmond or close by. But that's the logistics of it. Like because I do this full time, if I don't do a market, I basically don't get paid for that day or that week or that month.
Right. And one last question for you. Why do you think it is important to utilize Main Street Station?
It's right there on Broad Street. Like it's so much that you can do there. I remember being at one of the markets because the summer months they do it outside. But I remember being at one of the markets and a few people drove by the high, like saw the market from the highway and decided to get off the highway and come to the market because they were trying to figure out what it was. And because they did that, it created sales for vendors, including myself. And that's how I know about it because they were like, well, we were driving by on the highway and we saw it. It's a very unique space. The parking is amazing. You don't have to really find parking. It's just a perfect space to throw events and to have vendors at.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for you for today, but thank you so much.
No problem. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
You as well. All right, y'all. So yeah, that was the interview. Wasn't a lot on my end, but I was blessed to be able to just be in that space. So if you guys checked out the whole interview, thank y'all. If y'all checked out just part of it, I know I didn't start it right when it started because I was trying to figure out what I could do with it, but I got a big chunk of it. So thank y'all for rocking with me, and thank y'all for, you know what I'm saying, just watching this video in general. So I appreciate y'all so much. It's been real. I'm out.